One of the most fascinating aspects of Luke's account of the Nativity, in my opinion, is that it probably wasn't written by the author of the rest of the Gospel of Luke. Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and there are a number of considerations that have led many scholars to conclude that Luke 1 and 2 were not written by the author of the rest of the Gospel of Luke, but were added later to the Gospel of Luke. To begin, the Greek of Luke 1 and 2 is markedly distinct from the Greek of the rest of the Gospel of Luke, and scholars have noted that for a long time. But also the main themes of the Nativity account, Jesus being born of a virgin, Jesus coming from Bethlehem, these things never pop back up later in the Gospel of Luke, even though other things from the beginning of Jesus' ministry, like his baptism, are referenced later in the Gospel of Luke. Luke chapter 3 also begins how we would expect a story like this to begin, by setting the scene, what's called a synchronism. That's how Luke's source material, the Gospel of Mark, begins their account, setting the scene, describing Jesus' baptism. Now Luke then goes into the genealogy, which makes sense if the whole story is beginning with the baptism, because you got to catch the audience up. You got to say, by the way, this is where Jesus is coming from. But we've already had 2 chapters discussing the conception and birth of both John the Baptist and Jesus, and then we're fast forwarding 30 years to his baptism, and then we're going to go back and say, by the way, here's where he came from. That doesn't make as much sense as the story beginning with Luke chapter 3. So because of this and some other considerations of a more technical nature, there are a lot of scholars who think that Luke chapters 1 and 2 were actually secondarily added to the rest of the Gospel of Luke.